Welcome everyone to my quick walkthrough of learning a track. We're doing this today at Watkins Glen International, the short version, in the Lamborghini Aventador. I'm using the Oculus Rift and a Logitech G27 steering wheel and pedal set. And here we go down the pit lane. One of the things I was most excited to see that was being included with Project Cars 2 was manual control in the pit lane, both on exit and entry. So we've got to hold our speed. There is a pit speed limiter if you want to push a button to prevent you from going above that. I actually enjoy the simulation aspect of trying to balance the speed on the throttle. First, a disclaimer, I'm not an expert race driver. I'm not even a good race driver. I hope that with practice and some time put into the game, I'll be able to improve and have some fun and learn some new things. I've learned that recording these videos and then studying them after the session is over has helped me to learn a lot more than just driving around the track, and I wanted to share that with all of you today. And for me, when learning a new track, this is the first time I've driven Watkins Glen, I like to go around slowly, just 2 or 3 times, just to get a sense for the corners and any unique features of the track. Are there any gradients or downhills or weird cambers, bumpy spots? Where are the corners? How do they lay out? How do they relate? I can't actually see tire temperature right now. I'm just going to have to trust that after 2 laps they've gained enough heat to provide sufficient traction. There are overlays that can be shown within the game that report on a certain piece of information. I don't know if tire temperature is one, but while I'm actually in the car and in the Rift, I find the telemetry and displays a little too distracting from driving, so I turn those off. And then I use these videos and replays as the time to see that data and understand performance and where I might be able to improve. I leave the overlay for the track map in the top left corner. Oh, and I've got the position overlay turned on right now, although I may turn that off. That's going to end up being too distracting. But other than the map of the track, I turn off all of the on-screen displays and just use the beautiful cockpit view for the tachometer and speedometer. Most of the time while driving. I'll usually turn the track map off once I've got a real sense for the track and how to actually drive it. Okay, coming into this first corner now on our second lap, there's going to be a pit exit lane, a yellow line on the ground. We want to learn a line that avoids that, because crossing that will get the lap time invalidated by the race director. If you're ever finding that your second lap, or just any of your laps, are being invalidated almost as soon as you finish the first corner, one of the things to check if you have flags and penalties turned on is whether you're crossing that pit exit lane line. The race directors do not like you doing that, it's very dangerous, and so they will invalidate your lap time almost right away. Now, because I don't have tire temperature telemetry, I'm going to have to learn after the fact when a good time is to start a flying lap. I'm guessing at the end of the second or third will be pretty good, but again, that's something I'll learn after I rewatch the video. That sort of information can be useful much later on when you're really prepping for a race to understand how to heat the tires quickly, but for learning a track like this, I just treat the first 2 to 3 laps as slow laps, won't be flying, won't really be testing out how quick I can go, just getting a sense for the corners, where I can push them to finish on the curbs, and then any gotchas like hills or cambers or bumpy spots that you need to watch out for. So let's push it on this one a little. I expect I'll get the braking points and the entrances to the corner pretty wrong these first few times through, but I just want to learn, yeah, that we've gone wide, so we're going to get our lap time invalidated. That's fine. This is again just a chance to learn. I like the idea of this uphill section. I get the sense I'll want to lift at the crest, and then really get back on the throttle here to get some downforce. If I don't get on the throttle at the top of that hill, the car is going to slide. A lot of the time you can lift off thinking that will give you more grip. In fact, it gives you less, so I'm going to have to step on the throttle on that one. This is going to be a fun corner to do. I can see a lot of time being made up there. Braking looks like it's somewhere between the 400 and 300 yard signs. Now this corner and that first drive-through struck me as my least favorite. I think this is going to be difficult where they've closed off the 2 sections of the track. It's going downhill, it's sweeping, it loosens slightly, It's going to be awkward to get that right. This seems pretty straightforward. Break around the 300 sign, and then probably could have pushed that quite a bit harder into that far curb. And here we are back at the checkered flag. So let's go for it again. Let's really put down here and see if we can improve in some of these corners. We're not looking at anything like consistency, just learning the corners at this point. I'm going to break around that 300 sign. That seems a lot better, although we still went over. I've got to be careful. I might have to brake a little more aggressively. I was afraid of sliding out, and maybe just a touch earlier. Here I'm going to deliberately push it up this hill, let off at the wrong time, and too late. And there we go, we bang into that barrier. So you can hear probably in the playback where the throttle was let off. Also, I didn't let off at the bottom of the hill enough, so I didn't slow down. I'm going to push it into this corner just a little more to see when we can brake. That was probably a little too late. I ended up having to stutter into that first part of the corner, but we're getting closer. And then this, my least favorite. I'm going to try and go out a little wider here and see if using the fullness of the curb, actually that did feel a lot better. That felt a lot better to do it that way. That corner is going to be one that really needs some work. This is another thing I like to do on these learning laps. Here, this one I think, I took that too slowly again, okay. But identifying one or two corners that really need some work is important. Now I think we should have enough heat in the tires here, we've got a good sense for the track. Let's try and make this one consistent to the good parts of the last lap that we did, and ask our last few questions of ourselves. So braking at the 300, see if we can stay in this time. I'll probably be going a bit slow, although I did come up to the curb, that might actually be right. Okay, I've got a good sense there, so we're going to lift off a little at the bottom of this hill, and then get right back on when we're at the crest of the hill to keep the downforce. That's good. This long stretch is nice, get all the way up to 220, top end of 6th gear. And then we're again going to brake somewhere between 400 and 300. I think I broke a little early there that time. Going into my least favorite corner. Oop, cooked that one a bit. Just take it nice and easy here. I'm going to have to put some time into this corner to really learn it, like I said, and experiment with turning it shallow, going all the way up to the left there. And then see if we can, at the end of this straight, push just a little deeper in here, so brake just before the 300, but get back on just a little bit sooner. That's much better using all of the track there. I'm happy with this lap. This is a good lap. Let's make it our last. Let's make this next one our last. So I'm going to indicate to the pit crew that we're going to bring her back in at the end of this lap. One of the things I'll look to do now is to confirm some of the learning that I think I've made. Try to repeat with some consistency some of the corners that I am comfortable with. So like letting off here and then getting back on the gas at the top. So reduce the number of things that you still have outstanding questions about. Ooh, kind of pushed it there a bit. I thought I was going to lose it there for a minute. Well, that's okay. What I'm going to try to do, though, is repeat the corners that I'm comfortable with, and then just keep practicing those, and don't ask too many, kind of overcooked that. Don't ask too many questions of those. There, we got our lap invalidated. But rather, just get some comfort with the ones you know, and then I'll go back and try to focus more specifically on the corners that I don't have figured out yet. The one with the bollards, the long sweeping one, and actually the one entering the pit lane right at the end here. I think I've still got to figure out how to use that curb properly. So we're going to bring it in here for this final tour, slow down, and guide it back into the pit lane. There's no requirement in the game to guide it back into the pit lane. You can just hit the escape key and say exit end session. I like the simulation aspect. I love that they've added the manual control. So this wraps up our practice session, our first practice session at Watkins Glen. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it was useful to someone. For me, these videos are very informative. I watch them back and try to learn from what I'm doing. That's why I put all the telemetry on the video, not live while I'm driving. I'll be back for many more practice sessions and races, and I hope to see you soon in Project Cars 2.